There comes a moment in a woman's life when shrinking starts to hurt more than being seen. When staying quiet feels heavier than the risk of speaking. When pretending to be good, easy, plateable costs her more than judgment ever could. This is that moment. Confidence is not something you add to yourself. It is what remains when you stop abandoning who you are. And most people were never taught confidence. They were taught compliance and called it humility. But humility never meant to mean small. False humility bows to fear and calls it a virtue. It says, don't take up too much space. Don't be too much. Don't outshine. Don't disturb the peace. Keep quiet. Don't flip the table. Turn the other cheek. Whatever terminology you want to use to make yourself smaller that echoes in your head, that is false humility. But listen to me carefully. If your humility requires self-erasure, it is not holy, it is conditioned. Because true humility is alignment with the truth. And the truth does not require you to disappear. Jesus did not whisper the truth to keep the peace. This whole idea of, oh, just turn the other cheek, be the bigger person, be polite. No. True humility and confidence has boundaries. The turning the other cheek was an act of rebellion. It's saying, I am not going to tolerate this any longer. Because Jesus didn't whisper the truth to keep the peace, he embodied it. And it disrupted the entire system. Because confidence is not ego. Confidence is accuracy. It is knowing who you are and refusing to pretend to be otherwise. So why does confidence feel dangerous? For many, confidence feels unsafe, not because it's wrong, but because it's unfamiliar. Because most people learned early on that being expressive led to correction, that being visible led to criticism, and being powerful led to rejection. So the nervous system adapted. It learned that if I abandon myself to appease other people, to appease this, to not be too much, to not speak my mind, then I'll be loved. Then I'll be accepted. Because that is human nature. We want to be accepted. To be fully known and not loved is one of our greatest fears. But when you fully know and fully love yourself, you're okay being alone. Because you would rather be alone in your peace than tolerate disrespect from other people who do not actually genuinely love you, because a true loving and accepting person will fully love and accept you. So when the nervous system adapted and then that inner child made oaths to itself of, oh, I'm not going to be too much this, or I can't succeed past my mother, or I can't do this, I can't outshine the man, I can't be bigger than my husband, because I'll make him feel less than. Your nervous system has subconscious oath it's taken to not be too much, to not do this, to not fully embody and embrace yourself. And with that, you have shyness and you have anxiety and you don't feel confident. But shyness is not your personality and anxiety is not your essence. These are simply strategies that your body learned to keep love, belonging, and safety. But what once protected you as a child, when you were a child, you needed to stay safe. You needed to feel safe. That's what the nervous system and body wants. And that's when it gets anxiety. It's because it's not feeling safe. But what once protected you will now be your imprisonment. Because as the Buddha says, you are what you think, and all that you are arises within your thoughts. Confidence begins the moment you stop thinking of yourself as something to manage and start treating yourself as something to honor. Because confidence is simply the embodiment of love and the embracing of your own life. Confidence is not loud. It's not being the loudest person in the room of, oh, wow, she's like so loud and out there. She's such a bubbly person. That's not necessarily confidence. Now, yes, there are certain personalities that when they are confident, they are loud and bubbly and they fill the room with their energy. It's contagious. That's them. Maybe you're thinking, well, I'm more of an introvert. I'm more quiet in that serene kind of calm. A confident, calm woman, I know many women that are truly embodiment of their feminine energy, that they do. They don't have to speak a word and that confidence just exudes out of them. They are just sitting in there and their presence just radiates because they are embodying true love and essence for themselves. Because confidence is not loudness, it is presence without apology. They don't apologize for who they are. That is true confidence. And it is when your body stops bracing for rejection, when your voice no longer asks for permission, and when your truth no longer waits to be invited. Confidence is what happens when your inner world and your outer expression agree, when the mind and heart are in coherence. As Jesus said, let your yes be your yes and your no be your no. And this is not aggression, this is coherence. Because a woman who is confident is not trying to dominate the room. She's not trying to prove anything of herself. She is simply no longer leaving or abandoning herself. So if she ends up being king of the hill in that room, being the strongest, most present, embodied person, then so be it. But she's not trying to prove herself to be a man. No, if the men in the room are insecure and they don't like a confident woman like that, it's not her problem if you feel less a man, because it's not her job to make you feel like a man. She's simply being herself, and you can either rise to meet that confidence, meet that feminine energy, meet that embodiment in your own healthy masculine, or yeah, you're gonna get insecure and you're gonna try to attack her for it. But her confidence is not ego, it's embodiment. And this happens, you become more confident by choosing yourself as a daily ritual. You are a sacred being, and therefore you need to have sacred rituals to honor yourself. Because confidence is not just a mindset shift alone. It's not just saying, oh, I am confident, I feel confident, I love being confident, I know I'm confident. Yes, affirmations do help. They help rewire the subconscious programming in your mind. And that's why affirmations are powerful, because as a man thinketh, so is he. If you're constantly speaking negative limits over yourself of, oh, I'm so shy, I'm so insecure, I can't do that, then yeah, you're gonna put those curses over your life. And that's why you're supposed to speak in terms of blessings, prosperity, and health over yourself. And you want to speak the terms of I'm a confident person. But also embodiment happens through action. It's through the action that you create momentum, which then creates the thoughts and the feelings, and which creates that new state of being a fully confident person who doesn't apologize for who they are, because it's a fucked up female habit. Because confidence is not a mindset shift alone. It's a daily act of honoring oneself. And it looks like saying the thing you would normally swallow, setting the boundary you would normally over-explain away, letting yourself be misunderstood instead of untrue. Because a confident person knows who they are and they don't need to prove anything to you. The Tao teaches that when you let go of who you think you should be, you become who you are, because confidence grows every single time you choose yourself. Every single time you stop self-abandoning and self-hating, that confidence grows, because you begin to embody more of yourself and more of allowing yourself to express in the ways that you want to create and express into the world your beauty, your consciousness. But a person who abandons themselves, a person who self-hates and self-shames to get approval from others, they are so dependent on external validation because they don't validate themselves. And a person dependent on external validation, first of all, you're giving away your power. So when somebody praises you, you feel like on top of the world, oh, this, that, the other. But on the flip side of that, when somebody criticizes you or gives you a mean comment, you crumble. Because you sought validation from external sources. But a confident person validates themselves because they know who they are. They can look in the mirror and have that hard conversation of, okay, what are my bad habits? What are my shadows? And what are my blessings? What are my good habits? What is my light? And now I'm going to look at these as equal. I'm not going to heavily focus on how to become better. And I'm not going to self-hate myself and self-shame myself for the things that I'm still working on and growing through. But I'm going to have grace. And I'm going to integrate the two with love. Agape love. And then that person, they do. They're not seeking validation from other people because they give it to themselves first. So when they get a positive comment like me, when I get positive comments on my videos, of course I like them. I love hearing the good and people pouring life into me just as I like pouring life into them, but I'm not dependent on it. Just like when I get a negative comment, which I get a lot of because of the topics I speak on. You really think I'm gonna crumble and stop my work because of your hatred that you're projecting onto me? Oh no, you're driving up my engagement. Thank you. Like really, I don't let it destroy my day. Because again, I could care less what you think because I know the truth inside of me. Because again, confidence grows every single time you choose yourself without theatrics, without justification, and without guilt. Not loudly, not defensively, but firmly. Because this is the feminine power that they never taught you. And as Carl Jung understood something that the modern world forgot, that the psyche fractures when power is denied. He taught that wholeness comes through individuation. The same thing Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, all these masters of their time taught. That the process of integrating all parts of the self, especially the ones that we were taught to suppress. And for a woman, this often includes authority, desire, anger, intuition, creative force, and sexual and spiritual power. Purity culture really did a number on my generation. And when these aspects are rejected, they don't disappear, they go underground. Because whatever is stored and suppressed in the body, in the mind, okay, in the metaphysical realm, it will come out in other ways. And even Carl Jung talked about this. Carl Jung warned, what we do not make conscious appears in our lives as fate. A woman who has been taught to be nice instead of true will often feel anxious, resentful, or invisible. Her life force will start fading away because she denies herself of her life force. Not because she lacks power, but because she has been taught to fear it. And that is the distortion of the feminine energy. Because you are not created to be ornamental. You were not created to be agreeable. And you are not, sure as hell, created to be small enough to manage. If you are too much for somebody, tell them to choke. And in Genesis, Eve is called the Ezer Kenegdo. Not subordinate, not a helper, not an assistant. That word helper with the subordinate turn of women are below men came from androcentrism in 1560 when John Knox decided to translate the Bible. But in the Hebrew, the original, she is the Ezer Kenegdo. And that word, Ezer, is used to describe God as a deliverer, as a rescuer, as a warrior. Ezer Kenegdo means a rescuer, a strong ally, and equal power standing face to face with man. Because like I said, the distortion came later on with the patriarchy. That when the feminine power became inconvenient, because before it was a patriarchy, it was a matriarchy. Before God was a man in the sky, it was a goddess, it was a womb. And Carl Jung even understood this suppression as dangerous with the feminine, because the more a woman suppresses her power, he said, the more destructive it becomes inward and outward. Because again, whatever you just press down and suppress in the mental, it will express itself in your body, and it will express yourself in your outer world around you. Why do you think so many women have breast cancer? Why do you think women struggle with endometriosis? Why they struggle with PMS symptoms? Why they struggle with acne and hormonal imbalances? It's because their feminine power is being suppressed. Because they have not allowed themselves to be in their full embodiment of their feminine energy. And they tell themselves that it's wrong to express that power. Because endometriosis is blaming, being a victim. Blaming yourself, blaming other people. It comes from resentment of not being able to express your truth and speak up for yourself because somewhere along the way you made subconscious vows not to, whether it's from an insecure mother that tried to beat you down or whether it's from an insecure father or from a boy, wherever it is, you took unconscious oaths, even if it came from religion, of, oh, women are just supposed to be a wife and mother. Because these was the early church fathers. Martin Luther said, lest they be tired and lest they die in childbirth, let them die, for that is what they are here for. Yet the irony is staggering. His wife, Katharina, funded his patriarchy so he could write his little theology. Her businesses funded him when he could not fund himself. Yet women are just supposed to be wives and mothers. Because that's what a patriarchy wants to do. They want to take a wild, exotic bird and put it in a cage. Well, guess what? Women aren't meant to be caged. Because when a woman suppresses her power, it makes her sick. And it will come out in expressive ways. Why do you think breast cancer is so high in women? Because it's a lack of nourishment to oneself, because she learned to abandon herself for every single person around her. PMS symptoms, not honoring the feminine within. That is a sacred time in the month. You're not supposed to live and work as a man. You're supposed to be a woman. Because women are powerful. The feminine is a powerful creation. It is the feminine creative energy. You want to create a life you love? You need to start creating a life you love inside of you and speaking to yourself as one who loves themselves. Acne, that's self-hate. That's little bubbles of anger, little bubbles of self-hate and negative thoughts about yourself and about the world around you. And then, of course, sometimes it is physical based on what you eat and your hormonal imbalance, okay? You have to look at mind, body, spirit, what's happening mentally, what's happening physically, and what's happening in the energetic realm, okay? You got to look at the three. We're not just a 3D human level being. We're spiritual beings having a human existence. And that's also why women get so burnt out, because the world is built on a man's schedule. 24/7, like the sun. Men go up, men go down, men go up, men go down. Women, the feminine, is like a moon. We have waxing phases, we have waning phases. We have a full moon, we have a new moon. Sometimes our energy is high and creative, sometimes it's intuitive and we have to go internal. Sometimes we need to let go of things, sometimes we need to create things. Sometimes we are charging ahead in the world and other times you're resting. All of it is sacred. And the more you honor the feminine in yourself, the more you honor yourself and embody all of who you have been created to be, the more confident you will become. Because you realize what a beauty you are, what a queen and a princess you are. The only one denying herself of her crown is you. Because true feminine energy is not passivity. It's not being a doormat and accepting breadcrumbs from life. Not making yourself smaller so a man can feel like a man. Because only insecure men benefit off the patriarchy. All of my friends who are men, they're very secure in their masculine energy, and they love seeing a confident woman. They love seeing a woman go and succeed. Because only insecure men have a problem with you being more powerful than them, earning more than them, being strong and confident and bold. And only insecure women have a problem with your confidence and see you as competition, because a secure woman who is embodied in herself and loving herself wants to see you succeed. And they celebrate you. They cheer you on. They're the ones sending you flowers when you hit another milestone, because they know what it feels like to have support, because they support themselves. Because true feminine energy is not passivity, it's grounded presence. It is intuitive authority, and it is a creative force that does not ask for permission. In all the creation story myths, it was the great mother, the womb, the source, that then decided to birth the feminine wisdom that we call Sophia, and then decided to birth the Christ, the masculine expression, not because she needed him, but because she wanted him. That is the feminine power of energy that history has tried to suppress, because the law of polarity is in everything. The law of gender in everything. You have masculine energies and you have feminine. The left side of your body is your feminine energy. This is your receiving. This is your expressing. So feminine, especially as a woman, you will get the life that you want as soon as you start embodying your feminine. You are not going to get the life that you want by hustling harder, by trying to do it. And I speak from somebody who was very heavy in her masculine energy for many years. I did. I hustled so hard like a man, do, conquer, control, this, that, the other. And my life was like moving bricks. It was quicksand. But as soon as I started embodying my beauty and embodying my true nature and knowing who I was, I started attracting everything I want, because a feminine does not chase, she attracts. Just like a true woman who knows her worth knows that she is the prize. That men do the chasing, they're not the ones with the princess treatment. There can't be two people getting princess treatment in a relationship, okay? I'm the princess, and you're either gonna be the prince that I keep, or you're gonna be the toad so long, but I ain't kissing toads. That is a true feminine woman, and she knows her strength. Because confidence is not arrogance. And here's the part that most people get wrong. They did not have a problem with you when you were insecure. They did not object when you doubted and hated yourself. They had no problem when you played small. They had no problem when you abused yourself more than they abused you and your boundaries. They were so comfortable when you self-abandoned. But now that you're whole, now that you speak clearly, now that you have boundaries and you know how to say no and not apologize for asking for what you need and want, because now that you take up space and you have confidence, they call it arrogance. They say, oh, who do you think you are? You're prideful, you're arrogant. They try to shoot you back down, but it isn't. Okay? It's liberation. And as Carl Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. You have a purpose. Your life is not supposed to be hard. It is not supposed to be miserable. And you are not benefiting anybody except for the system self-hating. There's this idea in religion, especially in Christianity, okay, and I speak from experience, that loves suffering. It is like the mental gymnastics Olympics of who can suffer more. Suffering has become a virtue. The more you hate yourself, the more you self-abandon, the more you suffer, the better Christian you are. Good job, you get a gold star. You know why? It's because the same system that profits off of those people. Because when you bow to something outside of yourself, and you bow to a God outside of yourself, now you swear your oaths to that God. And now you give away your power to that system that created that God. But you are never separate from the source that you call God. That divinity rests inside of you. That is Christ in you, the hope of glory. Colossians 1:27. And there is this throne, this I am presence, this seat that you sit on. It's called the Monad in metaphysics. That is the core of who you are. And the beauty of confidence is knowing who you are. And that comes from discovering all of the mysteries inside of you. And that only comes when you start sitting with yourself and you start loving with yourself. And it is a privilege of a lifetime to discover all of the beautiful gifts, because the life you want wants you back. The things that you want to create, that dream is placed inside of you because it's possible for you. The creator, this consciousness, this higher consciousness that you are expressing now as a piece of it, would not give you visions and dreams, would not put that inside of you if they weren't meant for you. That's just cruel. And a good father does not give evil gifts. If you ask for a fish, would it give you a snake? No. And the beauty of being confident is knowing that those gifts are rightfully yours. They are your divine inheritance, and the only one holding you back from them is yourself, from a false sense of loyalty to something outside of you because you have abandoned yourself for them. But confidence no longer self-abandons. It knows it is a privilege to love themselves, and they would rather sit with themselves and love themselves than abandon themselves for somebody else to earn that approval. Because that confidence and that privilege of knowing who you are will only threaten anyone who benefited from your silence. The only people that are going to have a problem with you changing and bettering up your life are people who benefited from you staying small, are people who benefited from you staying insecure, are people who benefited from you being an empath and managing their emotions. As soon as you start observing their energy instead of absorbing it, instead of trying to manage them, and you start taking care of yourself and honoring your space and saying, you know what? I am not responsible for your emotions. Okay, how you react to my boundaries, not my problem, because these are healthy boundaries. Yeah, they're gonna probably get pissed off because they're not used to confidence. They're not used to you having boundaries. They're used to being a vampire sucking off your energy. But a confident woman knows that she uses her energy to create a life that she loves, and from the outflow of her heart, she loves others. Because she has so much love for herself, then all she has is love for other people. Because confidence is ultimately spiritual obedience. It is an act of obedience to become everything you were created to be, and that is part of the privilege. Jesus said, go and do greater works than these, and that is not ego. That is not saying that you're better or above anybody else. It is assignment. It is saying, this is the assignment I've been given, this calling on my life, I am gonna go embody it to the fullest because I would be doing a disservice to myself and the world around me by not embodying everything I was created to be. Because the greatest work you will ever do, listen to me, the greatest work you will ever do is not shrinking to be acceptable. It is embodying self-love without self-erasure. True, unconditional, agape love does not require you to erase yourself. It doesn't. If you have to make yourself smaller, if you have to erase yourself, if you have to hide parts and pieces of yourself to be accepted and wanted and seen, that's not love. That is not love, because the greatest work you will ever do is not shrinking to be acceptable. It is embodying love without self-erasure. Love for yourself, love for your truth, love for the art that you were called to create, because out of that then comes the embodiment of love, the overflow for everyone and everything around you, because you see the divinity and you salute it in every single person that you meet and every single thing that you meet. And somewhere along the way though, we got this satanic teaching of Jesus first, others second, yourself last. That's not what Jesus taught. Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. Because if you aren't loving yourself, you're not truly loving and accepting of your neighbor. Because if you truly love and accept yourself, then you have true unconditional agape love for your neighbor. But if you're judging yourself, if you're expecting yourself to be something then you're not, then you still have that same worldview onto them. And you only love parts of them, but then you're like, I don't like this part of you, or oh, I love this sinner, but I hate the sin. No, that is not true love, okay? Because sin, again, means to miss the mark of your divine alignment with the divine source, because you and the source are not separate. I and the Father are one. And confidence knows that, and confidence walks shamelessly in their own divinity. Because confidence is not rebellion against God, it is obedience to the truth. It is not abandoning yourself for a religious system. It is holding the truth of who you are in your heart and no longer abandoning your own divinity. Because there is nothing more magnetic than a woman who has stopped negotiating with fear, than a woman who takes up space. You walk into a room and you see a woman who is just so confident in who she is, so loving in who she is, and you're like, wow, that's a dynamite gal right there. Because she knows who she is, and therefore she allows and accepts you to be who you are. She gives you space and permission to not have to perform, because she's not performing. Because authentic people want to see your authenticity, and energy does not lie. An authentic woman does not chase. She does not prove. She does not apologize for her presence, because true authenticity is true confidence. She is clear. She is embodied. She is whole. And in the words of Billie Eilish, you should see me in a crown. Because she does. She doesn't bow to anybody outside of her. She doesn't bow to any approval or validation outside of her. She could care less if you abandon her, because she doesn't abandon herself. She is whole. She holds her head high because she knows her worth. Not because she's above anybody else, because she finally stood upright in who she was. So listen to me. If you're there and you're resisting, someone in your subconscious still doesn't feel safe, give yourself permission. Approve of yourself, because you are not here to be small. You are not here to be plateable. You are not here to be digestible. If you are too much for somebody, tell them to go find less, because you are never too much for the right people. You are here to embody. You are here to embody love and embrace your life. And I want you to go in the mirror right now. I want you to go look at yourself in the mirror after this video. And I want you to look yourself in the eyes. I want you to put your hand on your heart. And I want you to say, I approve of myself. I approve of myself. I approve of myself. I love you. Insert your name. So I love you, Destiny Fenn. And I want you to look yourself in the mirror, and I want you to do that every single day until it feels comfortable. Because most people, it takes them so long to do it the first time. The first time you do that, it literally probably took me like a half an hour, because I didn't approve of myself. I didn't love myself. I didn't feel I was somebody worthy of taking up my own life. Who better to live your life than you? It was given to you to live. You have a purpose, and that purpose only gets discovered through loving you, through approving of you. If you're not going to approve of you, then yeah, you're going to let the world decide. And the world, this whole psychic realm outside of you, will have every single opinion in the book to give you. Somebody might say you're confident. Somebody might say you're arrogant. Somebody might say you're too much. The next person is going to say you're too less. Everybody has their opinions, and it's all just reflections of where they are with themselves and their own views. And that is projections onto you. It doesn't change who you are, though. And when you know who you are, your house is no longer like shifting sand. When the storms come and the other people's opinions come, your house doesn't crumble. You don't crumble because you know who you are and you have a strong foundation in Christ, anointed consciousness, and you're conscious and aware. And also, you don't take things personal. When somebody attacks you and is negative and hurt towards you, oh, you're such a bitch because you have boundaries, you're like, forgive them. I know what they do. I love you. I see you. And I know that hurt people hurt other people. Stuck people want to keep people stuck. And I'm not going to take it personal. You are here to embody love and embrace your life. You are art, and the world needs you seen. They need to see the gifts that you have. They want to see you take up space. They want to see you. Everything you want wants you back. And the world wants to see your art, and you need to confidently create it. The only one knocking you out your kneecaps is yourself. And if you have people in your life that are trying to humble you, get them out of your life. You do not need people to humble you. Your friends should be supporting you. They should want to see you succeed. The dreams you have, they should be challenging you to become better and dream bigger. They should not be like, oh, let's be realistic here. Let's take it down a notch. Really? That's a lot of money. You think you can afford that? Yeah, the hell I can. Okay? Watch me. Just because you have limits, don't be putting those things on me. But the world needs to see your authentic art. We don't need another person consuming or copying. We need a creator. I want to see your authentic art created. I want to see you create the beauty inside of you to raise up humanity's consciousness, to bring heaven on earth. And that only happens when you first create a heaven up here, when you make it paradise in your mind. Because somebody who is the master of their house is a master of their life. And then they have the authenticity and the courage to then change the world around them. And true confidence knows that. They know they have a purpose. They know they have a gift. And they're not going to hold back that gift, because they know by holding back themselves, they're holding back other people. But by fully embodying who they are, by fully being everything in their authenticity, they now raise up other people, and they give them the courage to then set themselves free. And by your faith, you have healed yourself. So right now, I want you to give yourself permission to love yourself. Don't shame yourself anymore. Shame only benefits the other people who are profiting off you staying small. Guilt only benefits the other people who wanted to keep you controlled. Your fear only benefits the people who know the power of your faith. Because faith, nothing is impossible with God. When you walk in faith of your identity, of knowing who you are and whose you are, and knowing your divinity, the world shakes. Because perfect love casts out fear. And the truth sets you free. You hold the keys to your freedom. They are in your hand. And a true confident woman doesn't give those keys up to anybody.